Yeah. Yeah. Whoa, oh, heaven lets your light shine down. Whoa, heaven lets your light shine down. Whoa, oh, heaven lets your light shine down. Whoa, yeah, yeah, heaven lets your light shine down. Love is in the world, love is in the air. Where to go, tell me, will love be there? Oh, will love be there? Teach me how to speak, teach me how to share. Where to go, tell me, will love be there? Yeah, will love be there? Yeah. Yeah. Whoa, yeah, heaven lets your light shine down. Whoa, yeah, heaven lets your light shine down. Whoa, heaven lets your light shine down. Whoa, yeah, 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 heaven lets your light shine down. Go, go! Love is in the world, love is in the air. Where to go? Tell me love be there, love be there. Teach me how to speak, teach me how to share. Where to go? Yeah, will love be there? Will love be there? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna let it shine, I'm gonna let it shine. Heavenly light shine on me. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Heavenly light shine on me. Shine on me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Shine. Come on and shine. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 4th of July event here in Culpeper. Very happy to have you here. Very happy to have a beautiful day. Our friends to the north haven't blown smoke into into Culpeper, and it's a really clear day, and we're happy that the sun is out and the weather isn't too hot. You know, everyone's out in the shade, so that's good too. All right. So first, I would like you all to rise as you're able, and we'll receive an invocation from the Reverend Dan Carlton. Reverend Carlton.
Would you pray with me? Father God, we thank you for your presence in our lives, and we celebrate our community and our country today. And we thank you for how you have guided our country for these many years, and we thank you for the courage of our founding ancestors to give us the freedom we enjoy. And so, Lord, as we gather in this place and we remember what you have done in our country, we also see the beauty of our future with lots of children all over this park. And so bless this day and bless this ceremony. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, thank you, Pastor. I should have said remain standing because we'll be posting the colors here. So we're very happy to have the participation of VFW Post 2524. presenting our colors today, as well as the Virginia Society Sons of the American Revolution Color Guard as well. So Color Guard Commander, post the colors.
Present, halt!
And now I call upon compatriot Keith Price to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
And if you'll join with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'll try not to clap directly into the microphone next time. All right, we do have some special guest speakers from the Board of Supervisors. We have Chairman Gary Deal. You can come forward and.
Well, good afternoon. I didn't know I was going to be the first speaker today, but on behalf of Culpeper County and Culpeper County government and the County Board of Supervisors, I'd like to welcome you here today. And it's always nice to be involved with Charles Jameson and the Minutemen and his comrade patriots that are here today. It's a special day. I'm wearing my Culpeper 1759 hat. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's all about Culpeper. I've lived here all my life, and there's no other place that I would rather be or rather live in than Culpeper. And nothing will diminish that feeling that I have for Culpeper. I always brag on Culpeper, and whenever someone says, "Where are you from?" I don't go Fredericksburg. I don't go between Washington, D.C. and Charlottesville. I go Culpeper, because Culpeper is the place to be. And everybody enjoy the festivities today, and happy Independence Day.
All right, great. Thank you, Gary. And now let's hear from our mayor, Mayor Frank Reeves.
Hello and welcome to Culpeper 2023 Independence Day celebration. I am Frank Reeves Jr. It is my great honor to be the mayor of our wonderful town. As we gather today to celebrate, let us be aware to pay tribute to those who founded this great country. Here as we stand among the Charter of Freedom and Culpeper Bend Monument, let us reflect on all that was sacrificed for our freedom. Culpeper is proud of our vibrant history, and we should never forget it. We are grateful to all protect and serve to keep our community and country safe. As you enjoy your day with family and friends, take a moment to reflect on what happiness means to you. Be kind to one another and continue to spread kindness throughout our community. Thank you for celebrating the 4th of July in Culpeper.
All right, thank you, Mayor. All right, we are fortunate to have with us the Regent of the Culpeper Minutemen DAR chapter, Pastor Joanne White. She has a couple of biographies of patriots who actually come from the Culpeper Minutemen, or the Culpeper area, and we would like to bring those forward for your consideration.
Good afternoon. Henry Field, Jr., born in the 1730s in the part of Orange County that became Culpeper County in 1749, and died on October 15, 1787. His parents, Henry and Esther Field, deeded him 2 large parcels of land in St. Mark's Parish, Culpeper County, in June of 1755. Field became a Culpeper County Justice of the Peace in 1762 and a vestryman for St. Mark's Parish the following year. By mid-1770s, Field had also become a colonial in the militia. Field won election to the House of Burgesses in 1769, 1771, and 1774, where he served on the committees for courts of justice and of public claims. Field signed the Virginia Associations of 1774 and represented Culpeper County in all 5 of the Revolutionary Conventions between August of 1774 and June 1776. In the autumn of 1775, he became the paymaster to the Culpeper Minutemen. Field won election to the House of Delegates in 1778, and 3 years later was elected again. In 1782, he became Culpeper County Sheriff, and therefore ineligible to sit in the session of the House of Delegates. In Henry Field's will of 1785, he mentioned his wife, Mary Field, 8 daughters, and 6 sons, several of whom had not yet reached 21. Henry Pendleton. Henry Pendleton, son of James Pendleton and Elizabeth Anderson Coleman, was born in 1733 in Virginia and died in 1798 in Culpeper. He married Ann Thomas, with whom he had 3 sons and several daughters. She was from Orange County, Virginia, and died in 1804. He lived until his death on his plantation at the fork of the Hazel and Thornton Rivers. Henry was a gentleman justice of Culpeper County from 1763 to 1764, and also a captain in the Revolutionary War. He was a member of the House of Burgesses and the Committee of Safety of Culpeper County and of the Patriot Conventions of 1775 and 1776. On July the 4th, 1774, Henry Pendleton, Esquire, was the moderator at the meeting of the freeholders and inhabitants of Culpeper County, who met to consider the most effectual methods to preserve the rights and liberties of America. At a convention of delegates for the counties and corporations in the colony of Virginia on March 20th, 1775, Henry served as a delegate with some of the most famous American patriots, including George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, Richard Henry Lee, and Edmund Pendleton. Henry Pendleton is a proven Revolutionary War patriot. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. It's always great to recognize our ancestors and what they did for us and our country. So in 3 short years, we will be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. You can cheer for that. Yay! There you go. So although that's still 3 years away, there's still plenty of anniversaries that are very important to us from before that time frame. For example, in less than 6 months, really, the Revolutionary War period will begin. On December 16th, 2023, it will be the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party, the event that actually sparked the revolution. So we want to spend a little bit of time to discuss some of the events coming up within the Culpeper area, because some of those are actually occurring next year and the year after. So I'd like to call forward Andrew Gutowski, one of our Culpeper Minutemen. He will talk to us about the Culpeper Resolves.
Thank you. What a beautiful day, a little warm, but what a great, wonderful July the 4th. I welcome you, and congratulations for being Americans and for being here. My name's Andrew Kotowski. I'm a direct descendant of Colonel Lawrence Tolliver, the first commanding officer of the Culpeper Minutemen. My family's lived in Culpeper for many generations. I'd like to speak to you about an event that is not much known about, the Culpeper Resolves, and that was a good lead-off on the Boston Tea Party because it's directly tied to the Boston Tea Party. A little history lesson. On 17 December 1773, a group of men dressed as Mohawk Indians dumped 342 chests of East India tea into Boston Harbor. Many people at that time, both in England and here, considered Massachusetts to be the seat of descent in Britain's North American colonies, and this event simply confirmed that belief. In the spring of 1774, Parliament decided chastising the residents of Boston and Massachusetts seemed the obvious step towards pacifying all of the colonies. Eager to quell the commotion taking place in Boston, Parliament passed a series of acts, the first of which closes the port of Boston in June 1774. Parliament doesn't stop there. Two additional acts, the Administration of Justice Act and the Massachusetts Government Act, take effect in the summer of 1774. These three acts together are known collectively as coercive acts or the intolerable acts. Although three of these acts affect Boston and Massachusetts most directly, the Boston Committee of Correspondence worked fiercely to remind all the colonists that they suffer in common cause. The committee formulated a plan of resistance known as the Solemn League and Covenant. The Covenant calls for all colonialists to boycott British goods. Throughout the American colonies in the summer of 1774, days of fasting and prayer were held for the people of Boston. Pamphlets, treatises, and resolves were published across America, demonizing the intolerable acts and asserting the rights of Americans. When the news of these actions arrived in Virginia in late May, the Virginia House of Burgesses announced on May 25th that June 1st would be a day of fasting and prayer in honor of Boston. Lord Dunmore, the royal governor of Virginia, was unhappy about this, and the next day, on May 26, dissolved the legislature. The Burgesses reconvened at Raleigh Tavern in Williamsburg to organize a shipping embargo, to propose the First Continental Congress, and to schedule the First Virginia Convention. The convention would not meet until August 1st to allow delegates an opportunity to return to the counties and collect the census of the respective citizens. Several counties then proceeded to draft resolves or resolutions asserting their rights while proclaiming their loyalty to King George III. In response, on July 7th, 1774, a committee of Culpeper freeholders drafted the Culpeper Resolves. These resolves, like many other similar resolutions passed in the country meetings throughout the colonies, summarize the feelings of many colonialists in mid-1774, a conviction that their constitutional rights were being violated by British policies. The resolves also marked a step toward the intercolonial cooperation as more Americans began to realize that a threat against one colony was a threat against all. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Pastor Dan Carlton of the Culpeper Baptist Church about its 250th anniversary.
Our foundational story at Culpeper Baptist Church is a story of religious liberty. Our first pastor, Nathaniel Saunders, was imprisoned with 10 other Baptist pastors in the Culpeper jail at Davis and East Street for preaching without a license. And our early Baptist ancestors said, with all of this freedom that we're having and talking about in this new world, if we don't have freedom of conscience and freedom of religion, we never really will have freedom. And so our Baptist ancestors that formed Culpeper Baptist Church ensured that religious liberty was part of the First Amendment. Our third pastor was a man named John Leland who met with James Madison to ensure that religious liberty was in that First Amendment of the Constitution. So all of next year, we will look back at our great history of religious liberty, and we invite you to come and know that story. You should not live in Culpeper and not know how influential the events of Culpeper have been in forming religious liberty in our country and then in our world. So I hope you'll pay attention next year as we celebrate that foundational story. Thanks for letting me be with you all today.
So 2 years from now, in the fall of 2025, it'll be the 250th anniversary of the muster of the Culpeper Minutemen. Shortly after Patrick Henry stood up in front of the House of Burgesses and said, "Give me liberty or give me death," the House of Burgesses passed a resolution that all the regions within Virginia should put together a minute battalion and come to the aid of Virginia. Culpeper County was one of the few counties that actually put a complete battalion together and marched to Williamsburg later that fall in October of 1775. There were participants, a subset of them were participants in the Battle of Hampton. The British tried to land troops in Hampton to retake the peninsula. We got word of that, and the sharpshooters that were part of the Culpeper Minutemen took flight down to the end of the peninsula and was able to prevent the British from retaking Hampton and potentially marching into Williamsburg and disrupting all the troops. The Culpeper Minutemen were also large participants in the Battle of Great Bridge. So that occurred in December of 1775, and right now I'll call upon our historian Charles Jameson to give you the story of the Battle of Great Bridge.
The Revolutionary Battle of Great Bridge. In mid-1775, due to the rebellion gaining strength throughout the colonies, Lord Dunmore, Royal Governor of Virginia, fled the colonial capital of Williamsburg for the safety of the British Navy at Norfolk, which had a large loyalist population. An unpopular ruler, Lord Dunmore, had shown support of royal interests over patriot ones. Dunmore sought to quiet the patriot ardor by destroying farms and plantations belonging to the rebels. Dunmore sought to quiet the rebellion and win favor with King George III. Dunmore had 2 British grenadier companies. He raised an additional 2 regiments of loyalists, including the Royal Ethiopians, an outfit composed of runaway slaves who served the crown in return for their freedom. This was offered by the Continental Congress to slaves who served as substitutes, and as times grew more arduous, freedom was offered to those slaves who were allowed to enlist and their owners were compensated. Dunmore imposed martial law, erected entrenchments around Norfolk, and constructed Fort Murray. Fort Murray was Lord Dunmore's real name. Fort Murray was a small log palisade at Great Bridge to control the causeway connecting Norfolk with the Virginia mainland. The Patriots referred to it as a hog pen. This strategic thoroughfare and trade route linked eastern Virginia with North Carolina. His position could not be flanked because of swampy terrain. Only a headlong assault could dislodge him. In late November, a small force of patriots arrived. While many of the local citizens of Norfolk were sympathetic to the Crown, many more supported the campaign for independence. 2 Virginia regiments of militia infantry under Colonel William Woodford prepared to engage Lord Dunmore and drive him and his soldiers away. Colonel William Howe and 150 men from North Carolina joined their neighbors. Composed of some 700 militiamen, this composite Patriot force included the Culpeper Minutemen, with a young John Marshall, future Chief Justice of the United States. Colonel Woodford ordered entrenchments built south of the British fort to block the other end of the causeway and isolate and threaten Dunmore's army. The Virginians expertly threw up parapets within musket range of the fort. 90 marksmen were left to hold the end of the narrow causeway, while the rest camped several hundred yards in the rear. Shots were exchanged over the next few weeks. Dunmore's outnumbered command was armed with several field pieces and protected by a palisade. The Virginia and North Carolina militiamen had nothing more than small arms and determination. Additionally, the weather was rainy and cold, and the British suffered accordingly in their damp fortress. The Americans suffered as well, exposed to the wintry weather that made the standoff a frigid nightmare for everyone involved. Concerned that time favored the Americans, Lord Dunmore decided to attack and drive the militia away. An assault was planned for the morning of December 9th. Captain Fordyce was ordered to lead a mixed force of approximately 200, and Captain Leslie supported the attack with 200 Royal Ethiopians. Fordyce's British grenadiers led the attack before dawn, but it was quickly thrown back in some confusion. The Patriot force had installed 8 sentries, one being a free African-American Billy Flora by name. He was a farmer and owned a prosperous livery stable near Portsmouth. Billy is referenced as one of the heroes of Great Bridge by the Sons of the American Revolution. Amidst a shower of musket balls, Billy is credited with holding his line by loading his musket 8 times and firing, while the other 7 sentries retreated to the breastwork for cover after firing a couple of times. Billy wanted to make sure the Patriots were aroused and ready. Flora was the last to seek the cover of the breastwork. It was also noted that Billy pulled the plank up from the bridge before seeking cover. Aligned in rows of 6, the British infantry stepped off a second time to the beat of their drums. The bulk of the British Royal Ethiopians slated for the attack waited, however, in reserve near the fort. There is some evidence that the British believed the light field works had been abandoned by the Patriots because no fire was coming from them. Captain Fordyce is said to have yelled, "The day is ours." In reality, the Patriot militia had orders to hold their fire until the enemy was within point-blank range. The dress of the Patriots allowed for more cover. When the order to fire was given, the colonial militia unleashed several disciplined volleys into the British infantry. The British attack faltered as shattered bodies collapsed upon one another. Captain Fordyce fell riddled with musket balls a few yards from the enemy lines. The survivors stumbled back across the causeway in shock. When the British artillery ceased firing, the American militia counterattacked. Led by Lieutenant Colonel Edward Stevens, the Culpeper Minutemen forced the British between the causeway and the fort into a shrinking enclave. Capturing the cannons in process, the Virginians fought their enemy Indian style, firing individually as they maneuvered closer. The unconventional tactics worked well against the British, who were unaccustomed and ill-prepared for such unorthodox warfare. The Patriots did not continue their assault as they retreated back to their breastwork. Lord Dunmore sent out a white flag to recover the wounded, which totaled over 100. The Patriots had 1 wounded. This Patriot victory at Great Bridge had an impact on the course of the American Revolution that was out of all proportion. It made the British position in Virginia untenable. It resulted in Virginia being free of any organized British presence for 5 critical years, free to provide massive amounts of men and supplies to the Continental Army with virtually no enemy interference. I also would like to take the time to mention something else that is important to me. I am proud to recognize the Diamond Jubilee of George Washington Carver Regional High School here in Culpeper, which served African American students also from the counties of Madison, Orange, and Rappahannock. Therefore, a regional high school to the 12th grade. We will be celebrating the school's start in 1948 this year during the Culpeper Farm Tour on September 16th and ending October 21st with a celebration at Germanic Technology Center. Check with me or go to www.Carver 4-County Museum about these events and our Williamsburg Grand Illumination Raffle. And now I'd like to introduce George Washington, performed by none other than Steve Hawkins.
Well, good afternoon, citizens of Culpeper. It might surprise you that I was here a very long time ago when I was a young man. I was your surveyor. And the thing that I remember about being here were the people. The people took me right in as if I was one of their own. And today, I see the same great people that are here, and I feel really great about it. And as a matter of fact, I think Culpeper has some of the finest citizens in all of Virginia. Yes, absolutely. Now, I've been asked, oh, and by the way, it is quite an honor to be here with the Minutemen. And the Minutemen were probably the finest regiment that we had. And I am honored and privileged to be a part of this ceremony today. Thank you, guys. All right. I've been asked to speak a little bit about liberty and about the war, and I'll do so right now. I think in order to understand about liberty, you have to understand why we even wanted to declare our independence from England. And the reason why was because the widening of the gap became wider and wider and wider between England and the colonies. England was passing rules and regulations that made no sense at all. And who here cannot forget about the taxes? She was taxing everything from spirit and tea to linens to stamps. Who ever heard of taxing a stamp? It was right then that I realized that if we were to be the people we wanted to be, if we were to be the nation we wanted to be, then we were going to have to declare independence from England. But there was a problem, and this was the problem. We knew that England would not give us independence on a silver platter. She was going to make us fight for it. We were going to have to go to war. And who would we be fighting against? Only the greatest nation in the world, with the largest army and the largest navy, and a nation that had bukus of money. And what did we have? Only a few ragtag militia units scattered throughout the colonies, and no money at all. And there was another thing. Virginia was the largest of the 13 colonies. And at this time, Virginia did not even have a militia. So how in the world are you going to fight a war against the greatest nation in the world when your largest colony is not supporting you with money or men? Now, I know there's some military minds out here today that's saying, George, why don't you just go and get a bunch of men and go fight? We couldn't do that. And the reason why we couldn't do that is we had our own rules and regulations we had to follow. And one of the rules was that we had to get approval from the delegates at the convention. And the delegates were split right down the middle. 50% wanted to go to war and 50% did not. And there was the problem. It was the Second Virginia Convention of 1775. It's already been mentioned. I'll tell you something, my friends. The debate was heated. There were people that said no and people that said yes. And then a country lawyer by the name of Patrick Henry stood up and he addressed the group and he gave a speech. And let me tell you something. I've heard more speeches in my day than I ever want to hear. And most of them were pretty bad. But this was the greatest speech I ever heard. Patrick Henry talked with resolve. He talked with strength. He told us a way we could win the war. And then he closed his speech with, give me liberty or... Oh, very good. I'm really proud of you for knowing that. I'm going to see Patrick next week, and I'm going to tell him that you remembered his speech. And that'll make him feel good right here in the heart. And you can't feel any better than that. Well, as soon as he finished, you could have heard a pin drop. And then somebody shouted, to arms! Somebody else shouted, no! And a vote was quickly taken, and out of the 120 delegates there, the measure passed by a mere 3 or 4 votes. It was just that close. Well, I had my walking papers. I went around and I did gather that militia, and we were headed to New Jersey where we were going to get together with all the militia, and we were going to fight as one, because that was the only way we had a chance to defeat the British. Now, on the way, I was given the supreme honor of being elected Commander-in-Chief of the Army, and I took my responsibility very seriously. You'll have to forgive me. I'm going to keep my points brief and sharp about the war. And the reason why is because it hurts me to think about the war and how many men we lost during the war. The first thing I want you to remember is how long the war lasted. From the time we started to the time we signed the agreement was 8 years. We had no idea that England was that stubborn, but she was. And do you know how often I got home to my beloved Mount Vernon in that 8-year period? A total of 2 months, and they were not consecutive. You think about that the next time you think you've been gone a long time. Think about me. Well, it was very, very tough, but we got through it. Now, when I get around people like this, and such a large, great crowd, people ask me, what was the greatest battle of the war? Tell us about the ones that you won. Tell us about the battles you lost. Tell us about the least battle. I know the answers, but I will not answer them. And I'll tell you why. If I said that this was the greatest battle and this was the least, invariably someone here will have lost a loved one in this battle here. And they may think that their efforts were in vain. And I never want anyone to think that about any man that fought in the war. So just remember that. From the time we started till the time that we ended, we ran 232,000 men through the ranks. And out of those men, 7,000 men died instantly on the front lines. And they died in numerous ways. Some were hit with a musket ball. Others were blown up with a cannonball. Some were bludgeoned to death. Some were smothered to death. Some were stabbed to death. Some were beaten to death. And some even horribler than that. We lost an additional 17,000 men as a result of many different reasons. Some were wounded in the battlefield and never healed. Others died of starvation. Some froze to death. Some died of exposure. Disease ran rampant through all the camps, and many died that way. But the bottom line is 24,000 men died in the Revolutionary War. And for me, just one man dying was one too many. Now, folks, you have to think about that. Because truly, it was because of their sacrifice that we are enjoying the freedoms and liberties that we have today. John Adams, who is the president right now and a good friend of mine, he could see the future. I've never seen anything like it. The day that the Declaration of Independence was signed, he said this would be a great day. And it would be a day that would be celebrated for years and years to come, as long as America was solvent. He predicted the parades that would go on. He said there'd be great celebrations. He said there'd be gunfire. And he also said there'd be fireworks in the sky. And he was exactly right. So folks, what I want you to do today is enjoy today. And if you're lucky enough to go out tonight and see a beautiful fireworks display in the sky, enjoy that too and revel in it. But at some point today, give thanks for those 24,000 men that gave their lives for you and for me. Because I guarantee you, if they hadn't, we wouldn't be sitting here enjoying the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am George Washington, always at your service.
Okay, and at this time we'll have Keith Price lead us in the Sons of the American Revolution Pledge, which is found on your program.
We, descendants of the heroes of the American Revolution, who by their sacrifices established the United States of America, reaffirm our faith in the principles of liberty and our constitutional republic, and solemnly pledge ourselves to defend them against every foe.
And now at this time, we're going to have a presentation of the Leadership Award. And I'd like to ask Rebecca Bennett to come forward, and I guess Winter Berchant. And I'll let them do a little talking here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming out this afternoon to celebrate the 4th of July with us. I'm here to present this year's Leadership Award. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a leader is someone who leads. Pretty generic, right? Using that definition, anyone put in charge of something is a leader. I think all of us here can agree that that's not the case. I am sure we can all come up with our own definition of what a leader is, but I'm going to share with you mine. Mine is Chris Jenkins. I can tell you about his 45-year public service career, the last 12 serving as the town of Culpeper Chief of Police. I can tell you about his awards and recognitions. I can tell you about his involvement in suicide prevention through his coalition, Team Jordan. I can go on and on about everything that he has done throughout his career, but one, we'd be here all day, and two, that's not what makes him a leader. What makes him a leader is how there isn't anything he will ask you to do that he wouldn't do himself. How he tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. It is how he leads by example. It is how he never lets you feel alone. It is how he gets to know not only you, but your family as well. It is how he makes you feel heard and that your ideas matter. It is how he makes you feel like you are a part of something epic. His words, not mine. It is how he fought for our people of Culpeper every day of his career. It is how he sacrificed time with his family to serve his community. But hey, don't just take my word for it. Here are a few quotes from people that were impacted by Chris Jenkins. He inspired passion and motivation, not only to the officers, but town employees and community members alike. He was always a friendly and smiling face that I felt like I could go to and ask a question, express a concern, or even just say, hey, what do you think about this? He had a vision for Culpeper and a clear path to realizing it. He supported the community as a whole, and I never had a doubt on his intentions for the betterment of Culpeper. Megan Gray, former town employee and current Culpeper town resident. The trait of a good leader is one that not only leads an organization to a higher level, but also one that leaves the organization with the next generation well prepared to continue forward with the legacy left behind. Chief Jenkins did an excellent job at both, leading the Culpeper Police Department to be the next generation of leaders and be well prepared for what comes ahead. Through his actions in the department will not only continue to be the exceptional department it is today, but it will continue to improve and adapt to meet the needs of Culpeper. Chris Hively, Town of Culpeper Town Manager. Chief Chris Jenkins is the epitome of leadership and servitude within the community we all reside. Chief Jenkins, through his years of tenure and service, has made Culpeper an exceptional place to live and work. It is my hope and ambition to carry on his sense of leadership, service, and legacy. The Culpeper Police Department will always follow his example and mantra that serving our community is our #1 priority. He has truly made a difference in our community and is beyond deserving of recognition and the recipient of this merited award. Chris Settle, Town of Culpeper Chief of Police. Chris Jenkins has and continues to leave his mark not only on the police department, but the Culpeper community as a whole. I am very grateful to have worked side by side with him for several years, but I even am more grateful that he continues to have a presence in my life. Whether it's a random TikTok video or a get-to-work kid text, I can personally say that Chris Jenkins changed my life for the better. He took a chance on a 23-year-old kid just starting out in the world and helped me grow into who I am now. One of my favorite quotes from our time together is, "You lose your right to complain about something if you aren't willing to do something to change it." Chris Jenkins lived by this every day of his career. He was always willing to put in the effort to change things for the better. That is what a true leader is all about. It is my honor to present Chris Jenkins with the 4th of July Committee's Leadership Award. On behalf of the entire committee and the town of Culpeper, thank you, Chief, for everything you have done.
They want to know if I want to say a few words. Jeez. Rebecca, I worked with you a long time, and they're the nicest things you've ever said to me, so thank you. She promised me it would be epic, and it truly was, and it's an honor to be here. You know, I heard Gary Deal speak earlier, someone who is from our community and born and raised, and Culpeper is such a great place, so I echo all the great things that Gary Deal said earlier. It's also very tough to follow President Washington, and I have to tell you, he's the first president I've seen talk that didn't have a teleprompter, and I kind of wish I had one now, but Culpeper is full of great leaders. We're standing in this great spot here today because folks like Keith Price, Charles Jamesons, and the Sons of the American Revolution, and the Minuteman, they had the courage to fight battles to get this to happen. And the vision of our town, with its leadership, and the Mayor Reeves, and Town Manager Hively, and the council, to make this community such a great place. And like Gary Deal said, there's no other place that I would rather be than this place on this day every single year. Culpeper is a great community that's defined by its people, and it's defined by its leadership. And no matter what kind of storm comes, Culpeper will weather the storm and be stronger at its conclusion. It is an honor. I know the 4th of July committee puts in a lot of effort in this behind the scenes. And they sacrificed being with their family on this day so that everyone else will enjoy such a great day. So to Rebecca and to all the other folks and to all the town workers behind the scenes, they do an amazing job each and every year, and actually each and every day, to make this community such a great place. And in closing, I'd like to say thank you to our Sons of the American Revolution, particularly Keith Price and Tom and Charles, for continuing to educate generations on our past and our history. So I can't but say one last thing, is to say today across this great world, there's men and women in uniform serving this country. Our first responders, they're out in every single community that are not with their families today and making sacrifices so that others can enjoy freedoms and safety. So to all of you, I accept this award and I thank you. It's very humbling and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I know that we may have had a couple of guests to get here a little later. I'd like to at least introduce our Virginia Society Sons of the American Revolution President, Ernie Coggins. He was a little late getting here from Mount Vernon. Anyone else? We have any? Would you like to, a representative of, I think, Spanberger's? Representative Spanberger?
Hi, my name is Christy Black. I am with Congresswoman Spanberger's office, and I am here today on behalf of Representative Spanberger, who could not attend, but she entered remarks into the congressional record honoring the Culpeper Minutemen chapter of the Virginia Sons of the American Revolution. She has remarks that were from the floor of the House, and they are permanently entered in the congressional record honoring the work that you all do. So thank you very much.
Yes, I'd like for our now president.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. These are for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm kind of at a loss for words. I was just not thinking that anything like that would ever happen. So, so thank you very much to Congresswoman Spanberger and to her assistant, and we'll now hand the rest of the program over to Charles.
Well, I believe we're going to have our musket men. Get ready. This will be a big surprise for everyone, and hold your ears.
Aim! Fire!
Now, I must tell you that the SAR, they are very safety conscious. They go through pre-checks and after checks and all after they fired. They're not firing any live ammo, but they take safety very seriously.
Take aim! Fire!
You heard me talking about those sentries earlier. When the British were coming, they had to do this, load those weapons. Luckily, the other side was loading too, I guess.
Take aim!
Now, at this time, I'm going to introduce you to my brother from another mother. But we are Vietnam veterans. Dale is quite a guy. He's a dual member of the Culpeper Minutemen, but he has led the Colonel James Wood II chapter from in Winchester. He's brought him alive.
Please join me, if you would, in singing God Bless America to honor our country. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. America, all patriots, we salute you. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to have the reading of the Declaration of Independence by the Culpeper Minutemen President, Tom Hamill.
All right, for those that don't know the Declaration particularly well, the Declaration is divided into 5 parts. It has the introduction, the preamble, the indictments, denunciation, and the conclusion. Now, for us living in 2023, the most important section to us is probably the preamble, as it outlines the foundations of an individual's liberty and charges the populace, which is everyone here, with ensuring that our government is preserving and protecting our rights and freedoms. The preamble begins with the most important sentence written in the English language. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Abraham Lincoln said that the genius of the American identity revolved around this proposition, and everyone who subscribes to it has a right to claim it as though they too held the very essence of the men who wrote the Declaration of Independence. But right now, I'd like to turn the clock back to the summer of 1776. I'd like you all to play the part of one of the colonial townspeople hearing this declaration for the first time. For you, the portions of the Declaration that would resonate most would be the later sections, the indictments, the denunciation, and the conclusion. Because then, as now, people wanted to know that their grievances were being heard and what was going to be done about them. So as I read the indictments, if you hear one that speaks to your colonial persona, like, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, feel free to shout a hearty, "Hear, hear." Do we need a practice on that? Hear, hear. There we go. Okay. Also at this time, you have fathers and brothers, husbands and sons having gone off to war. You are wondering what the conclusion of all this fighting will be. Is it reconciliation with the British Crown? Is it an independent America, or is it something else altogether? So when I near the end and read that these colonies of right ought to be free and independent states, give us a big cheer. So now, good townspeople of Culpeper, I bring you a declaration from Congress in Philadelphia assembled. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation until his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasions without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriation of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution, unacknowledged by our laws, and giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of a trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for establishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is, at this time, transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun, with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled, and even the most barbarous of ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hand. He has excited domestic insurrection among us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of our circumstances of our immigration and our settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have cajored them about the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They, too, have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war. In peace, friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. That they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, totally dissolved. And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Thank you.